Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some wild news coming out of Eugene, Oregon Friday morning as former Oregon Ducks quarterback Jaron Keawe Sagapolutele entering the transfer portal. And I use the term former Oregon Ducks quarterback about as loosely as you can use those words. Because at the end of the day, this kid was an Oregon Ducks quarterback for about 10 days. He was an early enrollee in the 2025 class, now hitting the transfer portal. I think there's a couple of different conversations that you have to have. One, what does this mean for Oregon? What does it mean for the future of the quarterback room? Where I'll start with this, I think optically, it looks a lot worse than what it actually means for Oregon. And this is not me saying I don't like Jiren, because we talked about him extensively as the 2025 recruiting class came to a close. I think one of the more purely gifted passers of the football in this 2025 cycle. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It hurts to lose a quarterback that at some point down the road probably would be starting games for the Oregon Ducks. But at the end of the day, you're looking at this Oregon quarterback room and say, you got a lot of confidence in Dante Moore going into next year. I know there's a lot of confidence around quarterback Austin Novosad, who I don't even think many people are aware of, is a very good quarterback on this Oregon Ducks roster. Achilles Smith was also coming in this 2025 class, plus the buzz, the potential that Oregon goes to the transfer portal and lands a big name quarterback that might not be in the transfer portal currently, which you're seeing all over the message boards and Twitter. At the end of the day, it looks optically bad for two reasons. One, this was a very, very quick parting ways between Jiren and Oregon. I think on top of the loss that you saw in the Rose Bowl, it appears like this program's not going in the right direction. I think everybody who's watching this Oregon Ducks program clearly knows it's going in the right direction. And I think the second conversation is, where does he play his college football going into the 2025 season? I think the most important conversation when you talk about that is, what is he looking for? Is he looking for a spot where he can go and develop for a year and then be the guy? Or is he looking to go in and start right away as a true freshman? Because that's probably going to dictate the schools that he's looking at. Want to get into that conversation as well. Before we do, and as always, a lot of y'all been rocking with the boys a while as we talk the high school recruiting trail. Can't thank you guys enough for all the support. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into this one. Let's start just with what Jiren brings to the table. And it's a big body with a massive arm, a lefty gunslinger, so to speak, that's broken a bunch of records in the state of Hawaii at the quarterback position at the high school ranks. And we all know there's been some very good quarterbacks coming from the state of Hawaii over the last 10 years. And so I think that tells you the pedigree that this kid brings to the table. Over 7,200 passing yards his last 2 years of high school ball, 68 touchdowns to 25 interceptions. I do think he's a guy that has the physical traits to play early in his college football career. Do I think that's necessarily what's best for him? And I'm not trying to speak for him, but probably not, because you do look at the touchdown interception ratio. He does put the ball in harm's way a little bit. And I do think there's some development that could take place between the ears in terms of him being a really good starting college football quarterback. He's got a lot of confidence in his arm, and he makes a lot of high level throws, but he's also going to put that ball in harm's way quite a lot on the high school film. And so again, for Oregon, look, it sucks. It sucks to lose him. You're going to see a lot of opposing fans, and I've already seen it on Twitter and the message boards, try to jump up on Oregon. And that's just how it works. When you're a program that is having a lot of success, when things don't go your way, that's what's going to happen. And that's what makes college football, I think, a beautiful sport. Now, I think secondly, and I think the more intriguing conversation now is, where does this kid end up playing his college football in 2025? I think you first have to look to the two obvious schools that were going after him out of high school, Cal being number one. I mean, Cal was fighting tooth and nail to keep this kid in their 2025 class, kind of pitching that, hey, we're going to build an offense around you. And with them losing Fernando Mendoza to the transfer portal, that's probably the most obvious destination right now, because he's got a really good ability to come in and be the guy for Cal as a true freshman. Now, I think the question marks around Cal is that you lost a lot of your top playmakers and wide receivers from the 2024 year. You got question marks on the offensive line. If you're Jiren, you're probably looking at it and saying, all right, the quarterback room gives me every ability to come in and be the starting guy in 2025, which is always attractive to some of these top quarterbacks. Like, they want to get on the field and show what they can do. I think we all know that. Are the pieces around him going to be good enough for him to have a lot of success year one? That's probably the question you are asking yourself if you're Jaron. Because I look at a very similar situation when Dante Moore went to UCLA. He had the opportunity to go out and start as a true freshman. That offense clearly was not good enough around him. So he ended up putting out what I think is a really good quarterback in Dante Moore. You put him out as a true freshman, he's going to make some true freshman mistakes, but I don't think the offense was necessarily built well enough around him for him to have, a ton of success at the quarterback spot. That would be the question that I have with Cal. I think another program that you have to look at is Georgia. And Georgia really turned the heat up on this kid, too, to the close of the 2025 class. Carson Beck going to the NFL draft. Yeah, I think there's some confidence around a guy like Gunnar Stockton, who I really didn't think played that bad yesterday night in the playoffs. I know they really do like Ryan Puglisi as well. Kirby Smart's been not vocal, but by his actions and what he's doing in the transfer portal and on the recruiting trail, going after some quarterbacks in the portal, going after a guy like Jiren to close out 2025, it's pretty clear that Georgia wants to bring in another quarterback to the room. And with him hitting the transfer portal, with potentially having a route to, I wouldn't put it past him to start at Georgia as a true freshman in 2025, that to me is another attractive destination as well. Now, could there be some other programs that enter the mix for Jiren? I think so. When you're as good as what I think Jiren is, there's going to be programs that want to put you in the quarterback room. A team that I would look for is LSU. They've spared no expense using the transfer portal. They've done, in my opinion, one of the best transfer portal classes that you see in the country. Losing out on a guy like Bryce Underwood, you kind of wanted to replace him, a quarterback in the 2025 class. You have the opportunity now with Jiren hitting the portal. Now, they went out and grabbed Michael Van Buren, who's going to be going into year 2 from Mississippi State. So I think that tempers some of the desire for LSU to add a young quarterback. But when you have the ability to add a quarterback like Jiren, a guy that I think can be really, really good with some seasoning, I think LSU would be another team that you're probably looking at, and I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of come out of the woodworks and become a player for this kid. I think he immediately becomes a quarterback that a lot of programs are looking at and saying, all right, if we might have a quarterback that we feel good about in 2025, but we look at the future of the quarterback room and say, I don't know if we have a guy going into 2026, this would be a guy that you can put into your program and probably be the future quarterback of the quarterback room. We'll see where he decides to go. For the Oregon fans, I look, the optics around it suck. And again, it's just like a lot of storylines in college football. The optics around this are way worse than it actually is. It sucks to lose him, but I think Oregon's going to be just fine in the quarterback room. And now it's an opportunity for a lot of other programs to add a really, really good quarterback to their room heading into the 2025 year. We'll see where this recruitment goes. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.